Welcome to the very first episode of The Ordinary. I'm Jalp, your co-host, and here with me is my little sister, Buddy. Say hi, Buddy.
Hey everyone, super excited to kick this off. So, what are we doing here, Jalp?
Well, The Ordinary is all about giving a voice to people like us, just ordinary folks navigating life. We're not billionaires, we're not celebrities, but we have real experiences and stories to share about relationships, entrepreneurship, university life, and everything in between.
Exactly. You know, most podcasts have these big name guests, and while that's great, sometimes it's hard to connect with their world. We're here to talk about the stuff you might be dealing with from our perspectives.
Right, like sibling debates, our very different life experiences, and hopefully a lot of laughs along the way. And who knows, once in a while, we'll bring on guests who are also just ordinary people like us, but with extraordinary stories.
Yeah, so this is your relatable space. And today, we're starting with something a lot of people can connect to: navigating relationships during university.
Before we get into the topic of navigating relationships during university, I just want to take some time to kind of give you guys an idea of who we are. We're ordinary people, as mentioned. We are not professionals. We're not here to give you professional dating advice or anything like that. These are just our experiences, our opinions, and, we just want you to listen to them, maybe take something away from them, maybe share your own experiences. We would love to have that interaction with you guys in the future. I'm 24. I'm a working professional, and, this is Buddy, so I'll let Buddy introduce herself.
Hey guys, I'm currently in my third year of university.
What are you studying at university?
I'm in health sciences.
Good job. Good job on your introduction. You forgot what you're studying.
You didn't say what you were working.
Well, yeah, it's also true. I'm also not studying. I'm working as an accounting and financial analyst. I don't want to go too detail about where I work and stuff because just in case you decide to stalk me. Okay, Buddy, are you in a relationship?
No, I'm not.
Are you being serious or are you lying to me because I'm your older brother?
I'm being very honest. I'm not in a relationship.
Why?
It's a good question. I feel like it warrants a very complex answer, but if I were to boil it down, it'd probably just be, I don't think I'm ready for a relationship.
When you say you're not ready for a relationship, what do you think you're not ready about a relationship? Is it that you don't feel confident yet to be in a relationship? Give me an example.
I think, honestly, the way that I view relationships, and also keep in mind that I'm a younger sibling, so I have 3 older siblings, Jalp included, who have shared their experiences with me about being in relationships, and some of those have happened in university. What I think about relationships is that they only are truly successful and beneficial to you if you're secure in yourself as a person, and I feel like I'm not there yet. I've definitely made progress if we compare myself to, before I started uni and stuff, but now I still feel like I need to work on myself a little bit more before I do get into a relationship, and honestly, that might happen after university ends for me. But Jalp, I know you were in a relationship in university. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So when I first entered university, or even with a little bit of high school, I was, as Buddy kind of mentioned, I guess since we're brothers and sister, we kind of have similar experiences. I was also very insecure in myself. I had these thoughts that these girls won't like me. I'm different than them because I am Indian, and the high school I went into was predominantly white, right? So I had that insecurity. But when I entered university, I saw more people like me, saw more Indian girls, kind of related to people a little bit better versus high school. Not only that, I think university was the first time where I started to feel more confident in my skin. And that's when I decided to kind of put myself out there. So I think the first time I ever even asked someone out on a date was in university. I just reached out to them. They were in my program and everything. We kind of had classes together. And that was a good experience. It was kind of cool learning about someone else's life because before that, you're always just focused on your life. But when you're in a relationship, obviously you have friends and stuff, but when you're in a relationship or when you're dating someone, you kind of get to know someone's life that might be completely different from you. So I really like that aspect about dating. But yeah, that was kind of my initial experience with it. And then later on, I obviously got into a serious relationship. But yeah, that's kind of my university dating life.
Mm-hmm. You said something that I kind of want to talk about as well, about the whole, when you're in a relationship, you get to know, another person almost not, if not entirely inside out, right? I think that's something really cool about relationships that I do eventually want to experience, but that kind of relates back to why I think I'm not ready for it. I feel like I don't have it in me just yet to give someone all the, not all the attention, but attention about their lives when I feel like I'm lacking in my own life, if that makes sense. I feel like I need to give more attention to myself,
Mhm.
kind of develop, become more of a baked cookie before I, give that attention to other people. It may sound a little bit selfish, but I feel like in the long run, it'll make me a better partner. If that makes sense.
I agree. Like, I guess you feel like you still need to put in work in yourself before you put yourself out there, which
Mm-hmm.
is fair. I kind of have a not like I don't completely disagree with you, but I kind of also have a different perspective
Mm-hmm.
on relationships during university and stuff. I think I realized more about myself, about more like what my interests are, what my wants are in a relationship, or and even what are my insecurities and what are the things I needed to work on after going through my first serious relationship,
Right.
right? In my first serious relationship, I realized that okay, I relied too much on external validation from my partner. You know, like the cliche thing like you need to love yourself
Mm-hmm.
before
Yeah.
you get into a relationship. I thought it was cliche. Turns out there's a reason why people keep saying that because I would rely on my partner to make me feel loved,
Yeah.
right? I was kind of insecure in my own skin, as I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of became like very burdensome for my partner. And that's why I think our relationship took the different stages as well. There's like other factors, like we just kind of naturally grew apart.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that happens as well. I think when you're young and you enter relationships, which is something that we can talk about later on as well. But yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I think you learn about relationships going through relationships. So you expecting that you're gonna be ready and then you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
enter a relationship and like everything will be fine then.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna be the case because even when you feel like you're ready for a relationship, my personal opinion, you're gonna enter that relationship and realize, oh shit, I still gotta work on XYZ
Yeah.
and I gotta put in that work.
No, you make some valid points. I'm not saying that like once I've, fully developed as a person and then I get into a relationship, everything, will be picture perfect. I know that like anything in life, it's also going to be a continuous learning experience. So that makes sense. Like I definitely, even when I do get into a relationship, it's not like I'm done with the learning or with the developing or whatever. That's still going to happen. But I still think like if I know ahead of time that maybe I'm like not in the best, or I personally don't think I'm super ready for a relationship. I don't think it's advisable to get into one. I've seen
Yep.
not firsthand but secondhand with like friends who get into relationships not always for the right reasons. Sometimes it's just proximity or just, because other people are like, hey, you guys might work out, you know? And what I've noticed is like sometimes the relationship isn't the best. Rather than building a person, it kind of takes away from them. And that kind of leads me to another question I wanted to ask you since you've been in relationships in university, which is do you think being in a relationship during university is a distraction or do you think it actually helps you and it's almost a growth opportunity?
Hmm. That's a good question. I think like many questions, there's gonna be multiple answers. And
Mm-hmm.
this question, I also have multiple answers. It is a distraction and it is an opportunity for growth. From my experience, it was a distraction for me because I made my relationship in that moment like my main priority,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't think was smart of me, right? When I say that, I made some decisions like, maybe my friendships took a hit because I was too focused on my relationships. Or I made like career decisions like, okay, maybe I don't want to do this because I want to be close to my partner,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's say if I wanted to, not that I really wanted to, but I'm just saying hypothetically, let's say if I wanted to enroll in a master's program and like maybe go abroad to study or
Right.
something like that, continue my education like that, or apply for jobs outside of the current environment. In that moment, I was like, I also got to think about my partner. I want to be with them. I like them. I love them. So let me kind of not make those decisions,
Mm-hmm.
which in hindsight, I kind of do regret because like I feel like when I'm young, it should be an opportunity for me to be selfish a little and like
Mm-hmm.
think about myself. But I don't know, like I don't have the right answer to tell you like, oh, it's completely a distraction. And that's why I also think it's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
Like I told you earlier, I didn't know what I needed to work on. I didn't know like who I wanted to be with if I didn't go through my first
Right.
relationship
Yeah.
and go through all that that comes with going through your first relationship, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's a bit of both. Like many things in life, it's a balance. It is a distraction, it is an opportunity for growth, but I think you get to choose how much of a distraction you get to make
Mhm.
versus how much you can take it as an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Again, like I mentioned this earlier too, but because I am able to like see the lived experiences of people I know who've been in relationships, I feel like even before being in a relationship, I already know kind of what I need to work on, and I still feel like I feel like I'm predicting that it won't work out until I work on those things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm
And
like on the precipice of being developed, but I still think I need a little bit of time. Yeah, go ahead.
And I feel like us older siblings have, I don't know, like traumatized you to be in a
No.
relationship because you've seen us like,
Yeah,
you've seen us like
highs and lows.
be our highs, be our lows,
Yeah,
deal with all the problems,
yeah.
which I think you have an advantage of. Like you kind of get to learn from our experiences, but
Mhm.
I would also encourage you to make your own mistakes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I
Like
shouldn't be like
yeah,
avoidant,
just
you know?
because like my experience with relationships was like this, like
Mhm.
doesn't mean yours is gonna be like that, right? Or like our older sisters or our brother and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like we all have our own lives, we all have our own challenges. You can learn from our lives, but don't
Mhm.
try to think that okay, whatever we went through, you're gonna go through the same thing.
That's a good point. And if I'm being like brutally honest about myself, I think I'm sometimes, okay, that's a little bit of an understatement. A lot of the times, not just in relationships, even like goals and stuff, I'm a little bit of avoidant person or I'll put things off. So maybe I can see what you mean about, making my own mistakes, learning from my own experiences.
Mhm.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And also like you said something that triggered this as well, but I've also seen like friends of mine or friends of friends that are in relationships and I can like see that they've grown as people. You know what I mean? Like friends of mine that are in relationships, what I thought of them a few years ago versus now when they've been in like a long-term relationship, I can really see that they've grown as a person. They're more mature. I can go to them for advice. And I think it has to do with the fact that they've just had more experiences, if that makes sense. So I can see both sides where it can hinder you in the sense that if you get distracted, let it become a
Hmm.
distraction, or if it's just not a healthy or like a toxic relationship or something. But at the same time, I don't want to be like a pessimist and say that's always going to happen because there's definitely cases out there. And even with my older siblings, like you guys have been in relationships and you've grown from it. Albeit like it doesn't always work out, you have grown from it. Even though I'm younger and
Hmm.
it may seem like I'm kind of dumb or anything like that. Obviously don't think of me like that, but I do see it. I see all my older siblings maturing and like I don't know. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you would think about like maybe a couple of weeks ago or like maybe a month or so, I think we were talking about something similar, and I told you like this is the time for you to be selfish
Mhm.
and time to focus on yourself,
Yeah.
which I still agree with. And as your older brother, I still want like you to run by who you're dating with me because I want to make sure it's the right person.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, I want to encourage you to kind of make your own mistakes, go through your own experiences because that's the only time you're gonna learn. Like I can like sit here and like tell you like, oh, relationships are like this, you need to look out for this, but you never know until you actually go through it.
Mhm.
So I want to kind of transition away from this a little bit and talk about you, especially since you're in university. You mentioned that your friends are in university and they're going through relationships at the moment,
Mhm.
right? And I think you have a couple of close friends as well who are in serious relationships or have been in.
Yeah.
So, do you feel some sort of pressure to be in a relationship in university?
In all honesty, yes and no, which is like an annoying answer to give. I would say more so yes because not all my friends, but a good amount of them are in relationships, and obviously they're happy in them, right? And thankfully they're happy in them. And it does seem nice. That being said, I'm only hearing about all the nice stuff, unless we actually talk about all the bad stuff, I guess. But overall, I would say there is a bit of a pressure just because, again, I'll bring it back to media and movies because I love that. And I feel like it's always forced upon us that like university is a time of your life. That's when you're going to be surrounded by the most diverse group of people and that's where you'll find the one or something like that. So there definitely is that sort of pressure that I kind of feel. At the same time, I also know like the reality of like university relationships, like a lot of them are not for the right reasons, or a lot of people get into relationships just for the sake of being in a relationship. I feel like there's no purpose to the relationships, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't think there's any long term thinking happening.
Mhm.
Again, this is not with everyone. Some of my close friends are very mature about the decisions they make.
Yeah.
Not saying that people that choose to be in relationships are immature,
Mhm.
but I feel like, okay, basically to summarize, yes, I do feel the pressure, but at the same time, I know that it's not all, rainbows and sunshines, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And like, I think you brought up a point at the end where like some people that get into relationships in university get into relationships for the sake of being in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that is once again a university thing. And I think it happens later on in life as well. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to happen to people later in their 20s where they
Yeah.
feel like, okay, I need to settle down. I need to be in a relationship. And in those moments, people might put on blinders about like what kind of person they're looking for
Mm-hmm.
just for the sake of being in a relationship. So I think that's
Yeah.
very normal and happens quite often.
I know you're about to enter like your proper mid 20s. Do you think that's something that's happening to you? Like, do you feel that pressure?
In all honesty, yes.
Yeah.
I do feel that pressure. So I think in university when I was single versus when I'm single now, the pressure, I'm not saying like I'm like pressure like I'm in a lot of pressure right now, but
Mm-hmm.
like if I were to like compare the pressure I felt then versus now, I feel more pressure now.
Yeah.
Number one, being like in university, if you're single, you still feel like, okay, I still have more time. Even
Mm-hmm.
though, like, even right now, I still have more time. And somebody who's 28 listening to me as a 24-year-old might think, like, oh, this guy's crazy. But if you were to put yourself in my position, and if I look around my social circle, I have friends who are getting married next year, right?
Yeah.
They might be like 1 or 2 years older than me. I also have friends who are engaged,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I also have a good portion of my friends who are in serious relationships for 2 or 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the pressure is coming from the fact that I'm comparing myself to the people around me
Right.
and I'm comparing my timeline to their timeline. Because in my head, I always thought, right, that like I'm gonna meet my person, I'm gonna spend 2 to 3 years of getting to know them, and then get married, and get engaged, and then get married and all that. So if I were to like, because I'm like, I plan everything. If I were to plan my life, which I don't, I know it's not always the right thing to do,
Yeah.
but like if I let's say I want to get married latest by 29,
Mm-hmm.
I'd take 1 year back, that'll be 28. I get engaged, take maybe 3 years back. 25 is where I would ideally meet my person, spend 3 years to get to know them, right?
Yeah.
So, like, because of the mental timelines I built up for myself and me
Mm-hmm.
comparing myself to other people around me, I am kind of feeling that pressure. Um, but, like, what about social media, right? Like, how has social media kind of influenced your opinion on relationships? Or, like, is it adding pressure to, um, you, for example, to be in relationships? Because if you go online, you see, like, oh, my boyfriend got me a boo basket. Or, like, me and my boyfriend went to the Christmas market,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, when you see all these things, like, what are you feeling in those moments? Do you feel like you're missing out?
Okay. I have very strong opinions on social media. And it's going to be kind of, I don't want to say like counterintuitive or like hypocritical. I love social media in the sense that I spend way too much, copious amounts of time on it on my phone every day. And so you'd think I'd be, a huge advocate for it, but at the same time I kind of hate it. And when it comes to like in regards to like a relationship, I think one thing that I feel like I know, not that I feel I know you, so I know you agree with this, is the whole DMing game and like connecting with people via text or like online social media platforms. I genuinely hate it so much. Not because like I don't like texting, like I love texting, catching up with friends and stuff, but when it comes to like getting to know someone, which is like initially how relationships start on social media, I feel like it's a very like wishy-washy way to get to know
Yeah.
someone, and I feel like you don't really make any deep connection. Do you know what I mean?
I do know
Yeah.
what you mean. Like any relationships I have been in, like like that just started authentically. I've never really like DM'd the person for the
Mhm.
first time. Like I might have DM'd them like to
Yeah.
ask them out, but like I kind of knew of them beforehand. I knew of them in person, and like they kind of knew who I was as a person. I kind of knew who they were.
Mhm.
And like you know this, my DM game is not that great, and I think I just come off stupid whenever I try DMing someone because I am a very like a lame like
Dad jokey, yeah.
dad jokey person. So
Yeah.
like if I DM someone, it just kind of sounds stupid. But like I feel like if that person got to know me and I said that to them, it would be a
Yeah.
different story. So I kind of agree. Like social media doesn't really help as much. But I know a lot of people have met
Yeah.
through social media and have had good relationships as well. I don't know if it's for me, because as I mentioned, I just have a hard time connecting with people
Mhm.
on social media.
Yeah. Also, another thing that kind of sucks about social media is the fact that because social media is like so prevalent in our lives now, that like kind of takes away from meeting people, or the term organically, like
Yeah.
in person. I feel like for me, even though I'm in university, so I'm going to, all sorts of events and stuff and meeting people, I still don't feel like it's the same if I don't know if I got transported back to like 10 years ago from now at my same age, at 20 years old, 10
Mhm.
years ago. I feel like I would have honestly been in a relationship by now if we took away the whole like working on myself stuff. We were just talking about me as a person wanting to be in a relationship. I think it would be a lot more easier if social media didn't exist versus now.
Wait, like explain that. How?
Okay, so me right now as a 20-year-old in the age of, like at the rise of social media where you want to know someone, you DM them or you, I don't know, text them or something, versus 10 years ago or maybe like 15 years ago where phones and stuff like that still existed. But like if you wanted to like get to know someone, your first step wouldn't be like text them for like a month and then hang out with them. It would be
Yeah.
hang out with them.
Yeah, and this is what kind
Yeah.
of I hate about like, or this is something I tell my friends, right?
Yeah.
They come up to me like I'm interested in this girl or something like that. I always tell them ask her out. And what I've always done is like I ask them to hang out in real life,
Hmm.
right? Because number one, I do not know how to carry a conversation over text,
Me either.
especially for like months and on, like people that go through talking stages. I feel like it does more harm than good. I feel like you're wasting all this energy talking to someone
Mm-hmm.
when both of you know what your intentions are,
Yeah.
or if they're, or like if you ask someone out, you clearly kind of know what your intentions are. Like, let me rephrase that. Like, if I'm interested in someone and I ask them out, they know that I'm interested in them, right? And if they say no to me, that kind of gives me an idea like, okay, they're not really interested or they're not looking at the moment, right? But if I'm just DMing someone flirtatious thing
Mm-hmm.
here and there, the other person might play along with it, but no one clearly is showing their intentions.
Yeah.
Does that kind of make
Yeah, it's
sense?
easy to hide like your intentions or like how you feel about someone on text because like
Yeah.
it's not you, right? It's just words on a screen at the end of the day. It's very easy to just like I don't
Yeah.
know,
Or like,
keep your options open. I feel like a lot of people do that.
yeah,
It might be which is a little I think it's a little messed up.
yeah.
Messaging multiple people at a time, not committing to anything and just like having your options open, I guess.
Or like, like
Yeah.
I think one thing you mentioned, like you are just using words, right? I think like if I really want to get to know someone, like some people are really good at texting and some people suck at texting,
Yeah.
right? But when I meet them in person, that's when I really get to judge who they are as a
Yeah.
people, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I've met people who are really so like even my friends, they suck at texting. And I talk to them like, bro, I'm talking to a wall,
Yeah.
right? Like they're so
Yeah.
dry. But like in person, they're like the most amazing and like
Mhm.
you know, what do you call it? Exciting individual,
Yeah.
right? So I think like this whole DM game and like talking stages and like all that stuff is kind of, in my opinion,
Yeah.
at least for me, hard to
Mhm.
deal with. And so that's something I struggle with the dating culture at the moment.
Yeah. One more thing I want to add. You kind of spoke about it as well briefly, but like I feel like as humans, we're supposed to have conversations in person because I not even like remove like the romantic aspect of relationships. Even with my friends, I'll be texting my friend and sometimes their responses are dry and I'm like, wait, did I do something that pissed them off? Or like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, are they in a bad mood? Like you
Mm.
can't really gauge it. Yes, I can FaceTime them and then it's problem solved, but like I'm talking just text right now.
Yeah.
There's so many like, wait, but like how is this like oh, okay. The okay, was it sent like an okay or was it an okay?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so much like what's the word? Doubt and like uncertainty. Yeah,
Miscommunication.
uncertainty, miscommunication,
Mm.
where I feel like humans were not meant to communicate
Yeah.
like that. We're meant to like just look at the person and be like, oh, this is what they mean.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the emoji with the two eyes? That's something I use often.
Me too. Me
Right?
too.
So when I'm using those two eye emoji, I'm kind of like, like wink, wink. Like I'm trying to use it like that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if the person reading that is like, oh, is this guy trying to be creepy? Like, why is he
Jeffrey
saying?
Dahmer.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? Like, It's something simple
Yeah.
like that. Like even emojis, like they can have double meanings
Yeah.
and everything. But yeah, like I agree with you. Social media really great, invented for really good reasons to keep people close and connected. But I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes, especially when trying to get to know people, I don't know if it's the right medium.
Yeah. It takes away from the
Takes away.
experience. Yeah.
It's not authentic. I get
Mhm.
to put on a persona um, that I want to in the talking stage
Mhm.
until we finally meet up, and then you realize who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hopefully, they realize good things. But like there could be people out there like creeps who are messaging people, and then I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't want to get into all that.
All that weird stuff.
Yeah. So my next question to you, buddy, is does having a relationship in university limit your ability to find yourself? I think the reason why I'm asking you that because you keep on mentioning I'm not ready. I want to take time
Yeah.
to like figure out who I am and stuff. So why do you think that being in a relationship in a university is kind of limiting you from doing that work?
Okay. I think honestly, I would say I don't know if this is okay to say. I think I'm a pretty mature person for my age, just in general as a girl, right? So I think like I would be okay in a relationship, but there's also the fact that like security, right? And like you said this, you gotta love yourself before you get into a relationship and you don't have to give love to someone else. Right.
I didn't say that. I
You
think
said something.
people say that,
People
and
say
I
that.
didn't agree with it. But then I eventually
Eventually, yeah.
agree
Oh,
with
yeah. You came to that conclusion or
it.
you
Mhm.
realized a
Yes.
bit of the truth of it. Yeah. But I feel like for me, I just, I don't know, like, I feel like I need to love myself more. I need to work on myself more. And lately, and over the past few years, like I mentioned before, I've definitely progressed. Like, I do things now, hobbies, activities, whatever, academics. The way in which I do them to make myself proud, right? And now that I have that, like, confidence in myself, I feel like I have it in me to give love to other people. I feel like before when I wasn't super confident or in love with myself, if that makes sense, in like a, do
Hmm.
you know what I mean? I don't think I would have been able to like, I don't know, be in a relationship, love someone else. I don't know if you share those sentiments. What do you think?
No, I agree. Like maybe I guess you're wiser than me. But when I
Well,
was,
I'd like to think that.
yeah,
Yeah.
like when I was your age, I didn't think of things in that
Yeah.
perspective. I just thought like, okay, everyone's in a relationship. I think I am ready for a relationship. Let me jump into one. I
Mhm.
jumped into a relationship, made bunch of mistakes, messed up, realized who I was as a person, and needed the work. I mean, figured out the work I needed to do.
Yeah.
Which now I'm in a position where I'm like more confident, more ready because I know now, like, okay, these are my weaknesses, right? This is the type of communicator I am,
Hmm.
or this is the type of things that I cannot tolerate, and these are kind of things that I have more leeway to,
Hmm.
right? Those type of things I didn't discover initially. I think what you're doing right now is something really great, right?
Hmm.
Like you're taking that time to discover that before getting into a relationship. But people like me, who are impulsive, or people like me who are just like young and just want to like I'm not young anymore, but I'm still young, but like when I was younger, um just want to just jump into the next
Yeah.
big thing, right? And just go with the flow. Like those people realize that through the ups and downs of a relationship,
Hmm.
through the experiences. So I agree, like I have come to those conclusions as
Hmm.
well. I realized I needed to put in that work, and yeah, now I'm in a place to get into a relationship.
Hmm.
I don't know, still figuring it out. And I think that's the way it's gonna be. Like you just go with the flow. That's
Yeah.
my uh personal opinion on it.
Yeah. No, I also agree with that because like again, I've never been in a relationship and I definitely have learned stuff from other relationships, like platonic ones,
Mm,
like with my friends and stuff. Because I feel like people undermine those sorts of relationships because you learn a lot about yourself based on the person, not the person, the friend you are to people, right? The sister you are to people, the daughter you are. Those relationships also help you develop. But when it comes to romantic relationships, there's definitely like a bit of a learning curve there. So I think the best way for me to kind of because they're finding yourself, right? That's I guess like the topic in the sense. Finding yourself has so many like facets to it, but when it comes to like finding yourself, that also encompasses, yourself in a romantic relationship.
yeah,
I feel like I won't be able to like open that basket until I get there, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
there's a little bit of me that even if I figured out everything again, super conceptual. If I figured out everything about myself, I still don't know me in a relationship.
Yeah.
I can't figure that out properly until I'm in one. So there's definitely that one part. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would completely agree with you, right? Because sometimes I think like, okay, I'm ready for a relationship, I'm secure in myself and everything. But when you get into a relationship, I think people uncover a part of themselves that they didn't really know existing,
Definitely. Yeah.
right? When I entered my first relationship, I thought I was secure.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was ready. I thought I was mature. I thought I was confident I wouldn't get jealous and like all those things, right? But when you get into a relationship, that's when like you realize you need to go a little bit deeper into yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because those things that you weren't aware of will come up, right?
Yeah.
So I like that's what I'm telling you. Like it's a bit of a balance, even though like I agree with what you're saying. Take the time to figure yourself out, but you're not gonna learn by just figuring it out. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to make your mistakes, go through those experiences, and learn from there.
Okay, and I do have one last thing I wanted to ask you,
Mhm.
given that you have more experience between the two of us.
Uh,
Do you think it's okay to break up with someone because they don't fit into your long term career or just life goals in general?
hmm. As someone who has gone through um like two breakups, right? One thing I would say is yes. I think
Yeah.
it makes sense. If you don't see yourself with this person, if you can't imagine yourself like living life with this person on a regular basis, there's no point in continuing the relationship. If it's gonna be one-sided, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either you're loving someone one-sided, or they're loving you one-sided, and you don't have that energy and love to give to them.
Right.
I don't think it's fair to you or to that person to continue that relationship. When it comes to long-term career and life goals, I think that's why this kind of this tough part about being in university. Like, let's say you get into a relationship in university, and then you both of you have to move to different countries. It's possible, like you might have like extra school that you might want to do at a different country, or you are
Working.
working in a different city and stuff. So like those challenges are going to come, and it's going to set two people on different paths in their
Mm-hmm.
life. And as much as I would like to say long distance is easy, like it is hard, right? So
Mm-hmm.
both people have to be ready for that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to breaking up sucks. I think being on the receiving end of breaking up sucks. Being on the part of like breaking up with someone,
Mm-hmm.
that also sucks. Having gone through both, I can say like it's hard,
Yeah.
right? Breaking up is not an easy concept in itself, but I think at the end of the day, if two people come to a realization like, hey, don't take this personally, realize this is like, okay, this is the best for each person. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're just growing apart naturally, don't
Yeah.
continue the relationship and just hurt yourself later on, right?
Yeah.
Or if you see yourself not with this person down the line, do them a favor and end it early on. And
Yeah.
that's like my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just dragging them along for the ride and taking them through the ups and downs,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think if people do that, you're gonna just start naturally resenting your partner, and your relationship's not gonna be any enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm acting like I know all about relationships. I don't, but like
Yeah.
based on my experience, if you're not having fun in your relationship, and if it starts to feel like a burden and a chore,
Mm-hmm.
either take some time, address it, work it out. And if you're unable to come up with a solution, then I think it's okay to break up.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if it's necessary, it's necessary at the end of the day. Coming from someone with no experience, like I get what you mean, if that makes sense. I think we've yapped a lot about
Yeah.
relationships. If I were to sum it up though, I feel like in the 30-ish minutes that we've talked, we kind of came to the consensus that there's no set in stone rule book for
Yeah.
relationships in uni, out of uni. So honestly, I think you should just do what you want. But I think it's also important to really know yourself and to continuously search for what a relationship means to you,
Yeah.
right? For me, that might be finding myself before getting into one. For you, that might be getting into one and as a result, finding yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you summed it up nicely, but I would say go out there, make the mistakes, learn from them.
Mm.
Do it with the right intention. Get
Yeah.
into relationships with the right intention, not in the intention to like just mess around with someone, but the intention to get to know someone,
Yeah.
build something for the future. If you're doing that, I think you are gonna end up in the right relationship eventually.
Okay.
You'll be okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's a solid start to the ordinary. We covered a lot about relationships during university, balancing them, learning from them, and knowing when to take a step back from them.
And yeah, hopefully you listeners feel like you can relate to some of this. Again, relationships aren't easy, whether they're romantic or even platonic, like I mentioned, but they teach you a lot.
Exactly. Look out for the next episode, but for now, make sure to follow us, share this episode with your friends, and let us know what topics you would like us to cover. And remember, ordinary doesn't mean boring. See you next time.
Bye.